Microsoft stock, Facebook Meta stock, or Google stock, or Apple stock, or whatever company, they would have to sell that stock, which is actually illegal because under SEC rules, they can only sell a certain percentage. Like Jeff Bezos dumped 12% of Amazon. Now he has to disclose in the 10K report that he's selling X amount of shares. But like this thing that like billionaires evaporate, yeah, good luck with that. You'll see what it does to your 401k, IRA, and the whole stock market. You will create much more damage than you think. So I understand where you're going on feelings. I agree. Wealth and income inequality is a problem. I agree. But you also have to date back to a couple things. It was the creation of the Federal Reserve, the income tax, and Nixon taking us off the gold standard. That's when wealth inequality started like skyrocketing. It wasn't under Republicans, it wasn't under Democrats. You could play the partisan games all you want. Like, you've had plenty of Democrats in office that could have done something and they didn't.
So did we lower their tax bracket than we did when?
Quick response. Would I be able to get a quick response to some of what was said?
Yeah, but I just want to say on what Nick was saying, when they put in a wealth tax in France, the irony was not only did people move out, but it costs more money to try to what's the word, police and to collect and to evaluate the process and the wealth tax than the amount of money they collected as a result of the wealth tax. The prosecution of it was more expensive than the actual end result of the tax, and they ultimately got rid of it. This concept is ridiculous. It's just like when Harris had the tax on unrealized gains, and not understanding that people also lose money before they realize, when they get to that threshold.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Abby, let me explain that unrealized gain piece here, just so the dum-dums that don't understand what we're talking about. Imagine you decided to make a poor decision with your money and go to a casino. And let's say you went to the blackjack table, a game that even if you are counting cards, you'll get thrown out. And if you're playing optimal strategy, the house still has an edge. So you're playing a stupid game. But nonetheless, let's say you were fortunate enough to be up. Let's say you bought in. Let's keep it real simple for the dum-dums. Let's say you bought in for $100. Let's say you're up to $200. A tax on unrealized gains would be like the casino reporting that, okay, you're up to $200. We're going to report that as winnings, so then you can pay taxes on that. And then you sit there at that table and you lose not only the $100 that you were ahead, but the original $100 that you invested at the table, and you lose all of those chips. A tax on unrealized gain is the same thing as taxing a blackjack player when they're ahead at that moment in time, and despite the fact that they may give the money back. It's the dumbest thing that anybody's ever cooked up, but I would imagine there's a bunch of you dumb lefties, and maybe some of you Trump supporters, because Trump supporters are just as bad as lefties, as we found out.
So I just wanted to real quick respond to one of the last things Nick said about Nixon and the Federal Reserve and the gold standard and all this. So first of all, inequality was enormous when we were on the gold standard, like right before the Great Depression, towards the end of the Industrial Revolution, for one thing. Go back prior to the Federal Reserve even existing, go to feudal Europe, and where money was like literally like gold and silver coins, and you had enormous income inequality. I mean, that's just a remarkably silly point. I mean, I consider myself a capitalist, but more than anything, I'm a pragmatist. I like looking around the world and seeing what seems to work. So somebody brought up that wealth taxes don't work very well. I totally agree. People in places have tried them. They don't work. But the idea, if I'm looking around the world, what do I want to live in that have an income tax of 0? I mean, perhaps I know some people say like Singapore or something like doesn't have income tax, they have very low taxes.
No capital gains. Okay.
No capital gains. Yeah. So I'm not sure what country doesn't have an income tax. The part that awesome. Countries that are based on like oil and slavery don't have an income tax. Fantastic.
Wait, hold on. What about Lieberland? Why are you discounting Lieberland?
Well, Lieberland, I don't even know what that is. If I'm talking about,
okay, so you don't even hold on.
Wait, can I finish?
No, you can't. Because you asked a question. You asked a question. I'm giving you an answer. You said what country doesn't have an income tax? I said Lieberland. You said you didn't know where it was at. I'm going to tell you where it's at. It's right on the border of Serbia and Croatia. Now you know.
Okay, clearly this is an irrelevant country. If I'm talking about major industrialized, wealthy countries, by and large, these are countries that have taxes. The part that I don't really care if billionaires exist or not. I think in many ways it's a sign of a very healthy society if billionaires exist. It means people are able to engage in like many voluntary transactions. Like that's, I don't believe in this idea that we should be like punitively taking money from people just because. We as a society should identify the best uses of some amount of collective money. Most rational people exist within some sort of spectrum of believing that some things should be funded by the government. You have like real radical people who don't think anything should be. I discount those people. We should be talking about what we want to fund and what is the optimal way to raise that money. Maybe it's taxing billionaires, maybe it's not. But yeah, I don't like you guys. You guys are going to make me like defend the lefties, and I prefer not to do that as a capitalist, shill, neoliberal pig, that I am.
The whole eat the billionaires argument just...
Hold on, Monica, let me just ask this a quick question to Kevin. And Kevin, I remember your voice. Hopefully you remember me.
Of course I remember you.
Yeah, so you're actually one of the reasonable ones. So I will engage with you. What is your preferred method of raising taxes?
So I tend to prefer higher individual taxes and low corporate taxes. I believe many countries have figured this out, and this encourages reinvestment into companies, which is a good thing. But I'm open to different value-added taxes are a very good way to raise money. We should probably have one that's like a very hard to avoid tax. But I'm truly open to different ideas. If you have an idea of like, hey, this is like the most optimal way to raise revenue, I will listen to you and I will consider it. I'm not ideologically attached to any particular method of taxation.
So what do you think of this as a starting point? First of all, I would say that we have to attack the other side of the ledger, which is the spending first. But when we start looking at how we're going to tax, I would say the taxation that gives as much consideration to being voluntary as possible. And what I mean by that is, now I would strip down everything, and I know you're going to think I'm a radical for this, but I would just want to fund the military, the police, the courts, everything else. I don't think the federal government should be funding, and by everything else, I mean everything else quite literally. And so with those being the only things that we would fund, we would need to collect less tax dollars. So what I would do is I would want usage fees on the state highways. I think that would help raise money for infrastructure. If you drive on the highways, you can pay a usage fee, all these tolls. I think that we could institute a national lottery to pay for these federal things. I don't think we would really need to go too far beyond usage fees and lotteries. If we found that there was a shortfall to pay for those things, I would then say the next most moral thing would be a federal sales tax, and I think that would be that way. At least you can control what you spend your money on, and so I know I'll get an argument that that's regressive. I would argue against that, but those are the things that I would do. And then anything else that you want to do, I would look to the states and let them figure out how they want to raise the money. But at the federal level, that.
I'll keep this very, very short. I think we just have like a profound ideological disagreement, as you note. I don't really care that much about like the voluntary nature of these things. I'm like concerned about objectives and efficiency. I think that the state is inherently coercive, and that is something that I'm just willing to accept for the benefits of living in like a modern nation state. I think the government should do more than what you think the government should do. So I think we need to raise more taxes, and not in like relative terms today, but like in absolute terms to like what you're saying. So that's I don't think I'd be able to convince you otherwise.
No, that's fair. I mean, we're in an impasse on what we think the rights of man are, or the proper role of government. That's fine. But these are conversations that should be had, rather than starting from the other end of the spectrum and just talking about economics. If you don't understand, if we don't have an agreement on what the rights of man are, then it's going to be difficult to think about what government we should institute. And if we don't have the right government, then how are we going to get the right economic system? Unfortunately, we typically approach this the opposite way, and we start with an economic argument, we back into a political philosophy argument, and we never even get into the ethical philosophy of what rights human beings should have. And so, I don't know. I've spoken to you before, and I know we disagree, but you've always been good faith. So hopefully you'll enjoy your time in the room, and people won't be too much of a dick to you. The last thing I'll say though is, and then I gotta go on mute for a while. I gotta take care of something. But there was a gentleman yesterday that came in, said he was really popular and he's really good friends with Grant Cardone, and we called his bluff because we knew that he was full of shit and didn't know him. We had told him yesterday if he came in the room, he said he'd get Grant Cardone to come into the room. And I had offered him $500 cash to cash app him if he can get Grant Cardone within the hour. He said he would do it. He didn't do it. Oh, by the way, Angel, if you guys don't know her, she had offered to match it. So he had $1,000 if he could get Grant Cardone to come into the room. He wasn't able to do it, but then he said, I will get him to come to the room tomorrow. And he actually has 25 minutes left to be able, so he didn't get the bounty yesterday, so we said we'll extend it till 8 p.m. Pacific time. If you can get Grant Cardone to come in here by then, we'll give you $250. He's still not here. I just want to make it for the record. When I told him that he was full of shit and he didn't even know Grant Cardone, I just want the record to reflect I have a track record of being correct 100% of the time.
I just have to let everyone know Grant Cardone is a Scientologist. Many people don't know this, and they should.
Yes, no, we don't like him around here. Well, maybe some of these don't like us.
If you're pro fraud, if you're pro fraud and cults, then I guess you'd really like Grant Cardone.
But you've talked to him we've talked to him in rooms, Kevin. Have you? I mean, he's been
I don't need to talk to Grant Cardone.
I didn't say you need to.
Okay,
I didn't say you do. I said we've talked to him in rooms. Have you? Have you ever talked to him?
I haven't talked to Grant Cardone.
Okay. I didn't say you need to.
I've talked to him plenty of times. He's a total retard. He's one of the dumbest people that I've ever met.
He's a scammer, a fraudster, a shyster.
Wasn't he just in Lou's room, Roger? He was on Lou's stage?
Yeah, he's one of the stupidest human beings that's ever existed.
I'm happy we can all agree on this. I mean, all of these people who are very rich and their primary income seems to be claiming to teach people how to be rich, those people should all be met with like an enormous amount of skepticism.
Have you guys seen that episode where he's like, they give him $100 and then they drop him somewhere that he's never been, and then he tries to make $1 million company? Like, have you guys seen that episode? No.
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we were watching it, and it was interesting because he was literally like selling people an idea, and we were like, when is he going to actually start making money? It was really interesting how he got over on so many people. Like, people gave him somewhere to live, people just gave, it was interesting. You guys should watch it. What is it called, babe? It was like, honey, it was called
Billionaire Boss?
billionaire boss or something like that. It was really interesting, to be honest, because they drop him in the middle of nowhere, and they can't use their contacts.
Right. What's the show? I have a friend that was on a show, an ex-client, Undercover Boss.
Yeah,
Did you see
same
that show?
premise. Yeah,
Yeah.
same exact premise.
And my crazy ex-client is now running for governor in California, but he was on it, and they put like a stupid wig on him, and there's no way that you would look at this guy working with you and not think that he's wearing a dumb wig. Like the cover-up was ridiculous. And then I couldn't figure out, and I've not watched that show. I only saw that one episode he was in. Like how they don't figure out that the cameras are on them when in the different scenes when he's interacting in his company. It just seemed very bogus.
I agree, because all Grant did was shave his head, and that was the only thing that he did to like change the way that he looked. And so I was like, they might kind of still know who he is. And then they made the lie that the reason why the cameras are following him around everywhere is because they're following like new entrepreneurs in new states. It's just, to me, when you have the cameras around, it's kind of like I don't know, the cameras kind of give it away.
They have to. I'm telling you. And this one guy had a wig on, like long-haired, like he was out of the 60s. But it looked...
Yeah, suicide bomb, you can go. You can't fuck with these Arabs like that.
They'll never bomb the blacks because they know what'll happen.
Fuck you. Fucking
Yeah, no, fuck your mother. Fuck your mother.
That's what it's a great example for them. It's like, a lot of the food is like super European or super British, but the food is a lot of fine dining for the Chinese.
Are you back off of mute, or are you just hopping on for like a sec?
I'm sorry, where were we?
Well, I was just wondering, are you like back on, or are you still on mute? Were you just like interjecting for a moment?
I was just quick interjection. I'm back on me. You guys have fun. You guys enjoy this, and I'll go into listening. Hopefully, we can get some of the weirdos on the stage. Bima, if she were to come up, that would be fun. It's always fun to talk to an animal.
These are voluntary, voluntarist, anarchist.
She's a hairy armpit retard.
Oh, that's not nice.
Whoa. Wow, I probably agree if they're an anarchist.
Not gonna make her come
Thought
on
you
the
were a
stage if
communist,
you are
Kevin.
retarded.
Only stupid people think I'm a communist.
No, listen. You guys, have you guys not talked to Kevin? Kevin is definitely not where I'm at on the political compass, but Kevin's definitely a capitalist. He just he's just got a different idea of the mechanisms in which we should tap the government and the taxpayers to to spend on certain things. We just have different priorities. I don't think that he's. If you've ever heard him speak about these things, and I don't want to dox anything, but what I remember is it comes from some affluence and has a pretty good education, understands how money moves. That's a good fucking start. And so the only real difference is he's got different priorities than the rest of us, and that doesn't make him a commie. I would say this. I would say that Trump is more of an authoritarian and probably worse in terms of all of the things that I worry about a president would do to the economy. Actually, Trump is probably worse for the economy than any Democrat prior to Biden. So
I mean, Trump is certainly more economically. I don't know if you'd say left, but his views of the economy are just wild. I mean, his support of tariffs, his beliefs that trade deficits are evil and terrible. I mean, this is all remarkably anti-market. On top of his willingness to use the state and state power in order to tilt the market towards particular industries and particular individuals that pay fealty to him. I mean, this is an enormous kind of corruption.
What's interesting is you didn't even have to have Trump critics to say that. We had a guy in here, the title of the room, we had an anti-capitalist Republican who supports Trump that agrees with everything you just said. He was calling for more controls of the market. He self-identified as an anti-capitalist. So everything that I identify that's wrong with Trump, everything that you just pointed out, and our politics are completely different. And this Trump supporter acknowledged that that's exactly why he likes him. So I just hope that the Republicans in the room are listening to this shit.
I mean, the turnaround was remarkable from like 20. I remember, as we're coming down the tail end of inflation and, 2024, cost of living was like the most important thing. Inflation, it's out of control. The eggs, they're too damn expensive. And then almost immediately, as soon as it became clear that tariffs would in fact raise costs for people, all of a sudden it's my patriotic duty to pay more because paying tariffs is going to like benefit the country in some sort of way. I mean, truly remarkable stuff coming from the MAGA people as always.
Yeah, the MAGA people, they're right-wing anti-capitalists, and it's the most bizarre thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, right-left economy is different in other places. It's all capitalism versus socialism.
Well, I'll tell you this: if the right's not going to defend capitalism, nobody is. And I think that Trump taking the Republican Party in a direction where they abandon capitalism, that is not a good fucking look. The only thing that I can say is maybe that gives way to the Democrats returning to some semblance of normalcy. Like, imagine this. Imagine if Trump continues to take the Republican Party in its anti-capitalist direction and the Democrats become known as those that want to support free market capitalism. I mean, there's no doubt that the rhetoric that's being used, don't know if the execution would be this, but the rhetoric is that the Democrats right now are more capitalist than Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, there's something that's a real phenomenon currently called affective polarization, which basically means like one side says up and your side says down. And sometimes, obviously, this is just like good or this isn't necessarily good or bad, but we've seen interesting cases of this. Like one example of this is Democrats are now like super pro free trade, whereas like prior to Trump, it was like a roughly like split thing between the parties, but now support of like tariffs and free trade has basically polarized along political lines because Democrats don't like Trump, which hey, I guess that's a good thing, right?
I don't think, do you really think the Democrats are just free trade acolytes? I don't think that's really the case.
They're against tariffs at the very least based on polling data that I saw.
They're against like, oh yeah, I can see that, yeah. I was talking about elected officials. I think it's kind of...
I think at minimum we could say that Trump is just as anti-capitalist as anybody in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's almost worse because, like I said, he has a very strong willingness to use a combination of like markets and state power in order to personally enrich himself. It'd be like kind of hard in a way to call like an anti-capitalist when his family has personally made, tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars from his crypto scams, his crypto schemes, his obvious, plot to take
But that's not capitalism. I mean, listen,
it's not the type of capitalism I like. It's not a type of capitalism.
It's not capitalism. Look, fraud, force, coercion, all these things. They have no place in capitalism. All it is someone that's taking advantage of the political friends that they have. I mean, the Trump has said it himself. This is the part that I wish people listened to more. The reason why he knows about government corruption is because he was one of the people that was corrupting government. And so he's acknowledged that he knows how the system works because he worked the system. He's actually said these things. I'm not even paraphrasing.
Yeah, with Hillary Clinton on stage when Hillary said that Donald Trump doesn't pay anything in taxes, he said, yeah, because you were the one that made the rules for your friends and I took advantage of it.
It's just remarkable that people who kind of fell for this line, the idea that he was this outsider, was going to rectify this wrong that he once took advantage of. And
Wait, but I'm a Trump supporter. I don't believe that.
Look out for the everyman. Well, not necessarily every, but I think a lot of like working class people in this country truly did believe that the New York City billionaire real estate guy cared about their interests. And I think it's sad that those people were taken advantage of.
I mean, I don't want to, let's not become classist. I mean, there are plenty of reformists that come from the higher echelon.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm just saying after at least the first term, I think it should have been clear to everyone that his interests were not in improving the material conditions for the working class. I think that should have been clear.
Who'd you vote for?
In this election, I voted for Kamala Harris. Yeah.
There you go, Roger.
Proudly, yeah. I guess that makes me a communist, right? I imagine.
Hold on, listen. I didn't vote for either of them, but I will say this. With all of Trump's warts, at least I could find a couple of things that I like about him. There's a couple things I like. I can't think of anything I like about Harris. I've known of Harris. I grew up in California. I've known of her since the 90s.
Wait, Roger, you don't like her laugh?
I don't like her laugh. I don't like her claim that she washes her greens in the bathtub. I don't like any of her fucking politics.
What about her Pixar mom build?
Which one?
What about her Pixar mom build? You don't know what I'm talking about? All right.
Yeah.
Other people would know what I'm talking about.
What about when someone asked her a vaguely tough
Wait, why don't you elaborate?
And you could see the fear in her face. I like that about her. I think it's a...
Are you saying she looks like a cartoon mom? Is that what you're saying?
She's built like a Pixar mom. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, that.
Do you remember?
Does that include knee pads?
Do you guys remember when she was mildly attractive and she was using that sex appeal to go and get favor?
What do you mean was? What do you mean was? Why do you think I voted for her?
She's not attractive. She's not attractive.
Hey, I agree to disagree, but.
Well, she peaked when she was dating Montel, but I will say when Willie Brown was using all of his political power to put her in jobs that she failed up into. When she was a deputy district attorney in Alameda County, she was awful, but that didn't prevent her from moving all the way up.
So I definitely, Kamala Harris was to the left of me on a number of issues. Unfortunately, sometimes this was actually her copying Trump's stupid policies, like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime or whatever, like these idiotic policies.
What's bad about that?
Well, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's income. It's like any other form of income. Why would we not tax that type of income? It just doesn't make sense. We're also, I think we should be at least somewhat concerned about, the deficit and debts. So I would have issues with reducing the tax base without, also cutting programs, and I prefer to not cut programs. So I think we should,
So there's no
taxes.
programs that you don't like?
You could probably.
What do you think about gender studies in Pakistan?
If you look into, if you're just talking about foreign aid on the whole, I think foreign aid is something like 0.5% of our total budget, maybe 1%, less than 1%. It's remarkably little. And most of these programs that people will point to and be like, oh, this is so ridiculous. I've taken the time to look into a lot of these, and I actually think most. Let me real quick. One thing I think is good is giving, nutritional biscuits to starving children in third world countries, which I don't know if you saw the news, but our government just burned. We allowed to sit in a warehouse, millions of dollars of these nutritional biscuits for starving children. We allowed these to expire in a warehouse, and we incinerated them rather than giving them to starving children. Now you could say that some foreign aid is silly, and some of it probably is.
What do you think about, how do you get approved a study that studies the impact of the level of crankiness that rockfish have when they're exposed to tequila versus rum. This is a literal expense that the federal government covered. Like, what do you think? Like, how does that?
Look, Roger.
You know, so some of these things, once again, if you actually understand the point of like scientific research as a whole and basic research, and also a lot of these studies have been misrepresented. Like, I remember one that people were pointing to was fish on treadmills. They're putting fish on treadmills.
Shrimp.
And it's like,
Shrimp.
it's like, oh, shrimp. And it's like, oh, that sounds ridiculous. And then it's like, you actually look into the study, and the reason they're putting on treadmills is because they're testing levels of water pollution and seeing how that affects their ability to swim. And it's like, that actually sounds like a pretty good thing. And I think you can absolutely find stupid studies, but most of these
For the
studies
man
actually,
who just complained we wasted money and didn't feed starving children, to now validate the exercise habits of crustaceans, I have a problem.
do you think that, like, studying the effects of pollution on the health of aquatic life, do you think that that's like a worthy thing to do?
I don't think it's unworthy, but you just complained about starving kids. I would think they might be prioritized.
Monica, I think you might have misunderstood me. I was complaining that we allowed the biscuits to expire. I think we should have given them to starving children. I also think, as the wealthiest country to have ever existed, we have the capacity to fund basic research. And maybe I can appeal to some of the China hawks in here. I know Republicans used to be concerned about like U.S. hegemony, but I guarantee you these other very, very wealthy, powerful countries are spending a lot of money on research. They're spending a lot of money to learn things, and I think we should be too. Unless you want to see all of the scientific advancement to China, then go ahead. I mean, this is like
straw man arguments. Do they work in another room?
Oh, that was not a straw man. That was, you are saying that it is stupid to fund studies like this, and I'm saying
I never
that
said it was stupid, Kevin. You have to open your ears to debate me. You don't know.
Monica, you clearly think that these studies are ridiculous, and now
I'm disdainful of shrimp treadmill studies, and I'm pointing out the hypocrisy, Kevin,
what is
of your
hypocrisy?
insistence and virtue signaling about starving kids while the government wastes money on needless research programs.
We can do both. We're the wealthiest country to have ever existed. We can do both. Not once did I suggest that we should be prioritizing studying the health of aquatic life over starving children. I think we have the capacity to do both. Our economy is something like $30 trillion. I think we can do both.
I don't think we can. And I think you have a record of poor spending.
China would love that.
Kevin, I don't think you understand how little I care about your opinion of me. Should I emphasize?
Hey. Let's try to get a compromise here, alright? Now, Kevin, what about
Lord fucking Springer, dude? I'll fucking do the moderating here. Just chill the fuck out. These guys are.
I want to say my point, but fuck.
Hey, no, shush your fucking mouth. Kevin's a big boy. He can handle it. And this is fair discussion. And if they appeal to the moderator, maybe I'll do something. But I think this conversation's flowing fine.
Yeah, I think you'd have to make a very compelling case. We don't have the capacity to do foreign aid and and scientific research. I think we can do both. I think most people in here know.
Kevin, what if we took a look at like the real problem coming down the road, where the interest on the debt is now the third largest expenditure in the debt. Like the entire budget, it's the third largest expenditure. And if we don't start controlling the debt, it could creep into number 2, maybe number 1 at some point. You know,
yeah, I agree.
You're cutting out.
He's cutting out, but I agree. I think we probably do need some entitlement reform. It's not popular, but we probably should be raising the retirement age by a few years. We should probably be putting in some sort of additional tax in order to pay for these entitlement programs. I think possibly looking at. We certainly should be reversing. The Trump tax cuts, which dramatically expanded, the deficit and greatly will, in the long term, increase the debt. So, if you want to point to like a specific program, be like, we're spending
Social
money on
Security.
this.
Social
Okay, so
Security.
that's a real one. That's a real one. Because believe it or not, we're actually not spending trillions of dollars on studying shrimp on treadmills. It is mostly going to, I think, 66% of the budget around there goes to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So we can talk about these things. I mean, people have done the analysis, and you could close the shortfall on Social Security with like a pretty modest tax and also raising the retirement age by a few years.
Well, but Kevin, here's the thing, right? Social Security Trust Fund by 2035 will be emptied. We'll have, at that point, we'll be able to, supply 71% of the debt, the liability there, and so we're going to have to do something. You mentioned a couple of the levers. You said we could raise the age to collect. Right now, the standard collection is at 70 years old. You can take it early at 67, or you can even wait a little longer, which is an unpopular thing to do. Most people want to get it sooner rather than later. And so you're saying extend it out. We're seeing life expectancies for men down to like 76 years old. I am not one of these people that believe that Social Security is supposed to be a retirement plan. I think it's supposed to be an emergency fund for people that really fuck up. But the levers that we have is we can raise the age, we could raise the tax, and by raise tax, you can either up the cap in which you tax that 6.25%, or you can increase the 6.25 to a higher.
There's also the max. There's also the max contribution cap, which I think is like.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah. That's I definitely would support. I would definitely support getting rid of that. Like you should be paying into it.
So in either case, whether you raise the percentage or you lift lift the restriction, the cap there, those are tax increases. You could have a raise in the age, and then the third lever is probably the least popular, would be to reduce the benefit that people would collect. Those are all really unpopular things. I think the one that Democrats will fail is to lift the cap. I think it's like somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If Nick's in the room, Nick's gone. I think it's like something like 180,000. Maybe it's 190 or something.
I don't think it's that high. 153.
Roger, I like that. I feel like we're not necessarily on the exact same page, but at least we're identifying the problem correctly. I think it was really remarkable, the whole thing. Doge, they're talking about, the debt, the deficit, it's all so bad, we need to be cutting spending. And then we're really just talking about like clipping things around the edges with like programs that we ideologically disagree with and don't spend that much money on. And while at the same time, claiming that we're not going to be reducing like the major entitlements, which are like the majority of the budget. I mean, that is like, if we're concerned about the budget, it should be a conversation about entitlements and entitlement reform. Like in our studies in Pakistan, which we maybe spent like a few $1 million on a grant on or whatever.
This is true. That being said, Democrats, anytime you make a mention of reforms to Social Security, they do the scare tactic of they want to take money from grandma and grandpa. And so this idea that, that we can have a conversation about it, Democrats don't seem to want to, and Republicans are certainly not in a hurry.
Oh, it's electoral poison. I mean, it's
correct.
I'll be real about that. I mean, the old people are one of the most like reliable voting blocks in the country. You piss them off, you won't win an election. You make them scared, you won't win an election.
Which is why I think we should rip the Band-Aid off. And what I would love to see, I don't think I know that my way would never fly. But I would love to see somebody represent the position that it's a Ponzi scheme and it should be completely abolished and replaced with nothing. Now, I know you're going to say that you don't like that idea, but it's not about passing that. I know that would never fly. But if you at least had somebody representing that, and then you had somebody that was on the other side say, no, it's perfectly fine the way it is, don't touch it, that would keep the door open for the reasonable conversation. I think what we need is the framing of two polar extremes, like some ridiculous wealth tax that Republicans can vilify, and then another position that completely abolishes it that Democrats can vilify, and then you get the reasonable people in the room and you hash it out and find.
So there's a website called Open the Books. Adam Andrzejewski did it. The founder died a year ago. I don't know why. They're kind of quiet about how he passed.
Question mark?
Yo, Roger, Did you see Nathan's?
I don't know why it was
PTR?
necessary to interrupt me because you interrupted me, then Rich thought he could go off mute. Can I please make my statement?
Hey,
Kevin?
Monica, how's it going?
Hey, Daniel, I'm fine. So, they have a program called Open the Books Every Dime Online where they ask businesses and government entities and schools to put every penny of their expenses online for consumer watchdog groups to look at. He did a speech at one of the universities or conferences once where he detailed the purchase of lobster and steak for military members and the disincentivization of saving by people, organizations, especially business government entities. They're given a budget each year, and if they don't spend it, they're at risk of having their budget cut the following year. So there's a mad rush for buying pencils and ink pens at the end of the budget, so they're not at risk for losing their money. That's completely opposite of what we need. And that could be corrected, but I don't hear a lot of people about it. Thank you for the mic time.
I was just gonna ask Roger if he'd seen that Nathan put your PTR, but he imposed his face on yours. Means he's getting jealous, Roger. Must be doing something right.
Well, at least he would have read more books that way.
I'm gonna put the link to the speech that Adam gave a couple years ago. It's very good.
What up, B? Welcome to the stage.
I don't want to get Rob just to ask your opinion on this. We were talking about Islam earlier, and I just thought of something we were talking about foreign aid. Don't you think, though, that perhaps these wacky, gender studies funding would be a good soft power way of kind of combating, Wahhabism in that region?
Yeah, I mean, we got to destroy their society from the inside with feminism. I mean, that's clearly.
Well, I mean, but that's why.
I'm kidding.
But that's why how these radical sects of Islam is because, like, during the Cold War, we were big friends with the Saudis, and they were putting all these universities in that were teaching, hardcore radical Islam. I mean, that's why the Middle East is so wild.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that from Brad, but I have to look into the details of it. But I'm not against it on its face value. I see exactly what they're doing.
Real quick, it's $176,100. I was wrong.
Thank you.
On what?
The max cap for Social Security taxes for your yearly paycheck, yearly payroll.
Well, that should be increased. That's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they did increase it, but here's how I can support get behind supporting lifting it and putting no max on it, no cap at all. And guys might think, oh shit, he's fucking going crazy, he's losing his mind. If we cut the rate in half, that would help everybody. If we could, if you put zero cap on it, but you reduced it to to 3%, maybe maybe 3.25%.
That's interesting.
Hey, I was just going to mention to anybody in the room, moderators, anybody on stage, anybody in the audience, if you go in and hit the arrow button up, click on all the green dots, invite people.
David, you're causing an echo.
Thank you. Oh, I was just saying invite people in, guys. Keep the room big.
No, I'm saying David's causing an echo.
Come on up, Samoa. We're having a conversation on politics and taxes.
Thank you for telling me I fixed it.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Republican or pro-Trump deficit hawks who are all of a sudden okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, we all knew they were bullshitting because Trump blew out the deficit even before COVID with the tax cuts and Jobs Act. But now, obviously, with this bill, where they increased the debt ceiling by, I think, $5 trillion, and it's projected that this will cost over the medium term, another $3 or $5 trillion tacked on top of the debt. Who's defending this? Who's defending this?
Well, I don't defend it. I do like tax cuts. Like, if down to zero, I'd be happy. And I know that you'll say it's unpractical, but the problem that I see with Trump is, and Republicans in general, is they only care about talking about the debt when they're not in power. And then when they're in power, they don't care that the debt goes up. They only care that they do things that are popular with the people, that vote for them. And you're either principled on this issue or you're not. And I would love to see a balanced budget amendment. I would love to see a commitment. I would love to see, this is what I'd love to see. I'd love to see any Republican that doesn't support a balanced budget amendment to be primaried. Just get them the fuck out. Get that balanced budget amendment passed, and then spend within our means. Period.
I like that. I like that a lot. So Kevin's overly critical and has a poor memory regarding the historical events of Trump's first administration. First 2 years were tied up with
Why didn't you
Russia.
say what you were going to say and to let Kevin respond to it? Like, why do you got to, why the big mind?
It was a slow build, Roger. Let me cook.
No, you know what? If I was an umpire, I'd call a balk on that. Just fucking throw the pitch.
He's targeted Trump earlier in this conversation. So I wanted to set up the premise that he has a poor memory of all the things and obstacles that were thrown at Trump during his first administration, including the fact that he had wanted immigration reform, but the Never-Trumpers led by Paul Ryan refused to give it to him in the first 2 years, and then they lost power in Congress and they couldn't get it done. Not to mention the Russian collusion delusion, and then, oh my gosh, a small matter of a pandemic, a global one that increased the spending, and if you look at an interview that he ran in 2020, I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to let Roger decide who he wants to hear, but I'm not going to scream at you. So in an interview before the 2020 election, he was asked about the deficit, and he said, yeah, I really need to look at that. I'm going to do that for my second term. And then what happened? 2020, with the summer of love that set our country on fire because people wanted to support the wrongful death of a criminal. Okay, fine. And then 4 years of Biden and failed Democratic policies and open borders that caused our country additional chaos. So you know what? It is July of Trump's first year in his second term. So I'm going to give him some more room. Thank you.
Okay, so it's like I'm flipping through OAN and Fox News and Newsmax all at once, just like going channel to channel. Very interesting. So the spending under Trump was out of control prior to COVID. You can look this up. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is the primary reason for the increased deficit under Trump, was passed in 2017, like 3 years before COVID. So, and I don't know what the fuck any of those other things have to do with him spending an enormous amount of money while cutting taxes. What do any of those things, like the country was on fire? Like what is this? What is this nonsense? Like, there were riots. The riots were bad. The riots caused, substantial amount of money and damage, but nothing.
How many millions of dollars in damage? How many destroyed businesses?
I don't know. Was a major contributing factor to the deficit under Trump? Like, what? What the fuck does the Russia Gate, whatever thing, which by the way resulted in 19 indictments? What you think that's responsible for the debt? No, the debt is due to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed where the deficit under Trump was due to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was passed in 2017. And I don't know how you're saying you're going to give him room. Like, we all know what the effects of this most recent round of tax cuts will be. Just like we knew what the effects of the last tax cuts will be, mostly because these tax cuts were mostly just making the previous ones permanent. The 2017 ones permanent, expanding them. And we saw what that did to the deficit, and it's expected to increase like I said, this CBO estimates that's going to increase the debt by somewhere in the ballpark of like $3 to $5 trillion over the next, I forget if it was like 5 years, 10 years, whatever. There's no way mathematically that this is going to result in a shortfall. I mean, their one argument is that, these tax cuts are going to grow the economy so much that even though like our revenue will be less as a percent, in absolute terms it'll be more. But he's also pursuing a tariff policy which is both inflationary and expected to shrink the overall size of the economy, according to most economic analysts in the banking sector and Wall Street and so on. I mean, they're all anticipating negative GDP growth. But thankfully, when the tariffs
it was supposed to be happening now.
Go into effect. Well, also, some of those estimates were based on when he came out on Liberation Day with those ridiculous tariff rates of 50%, 80%.
Yeah, Trump's a
100%,
businessman.
whatever.
He likes making deals.
How many deals has he made? It was supposed to be 90
Which
deals
one?
in 90
The one
days.
he just did with Japan?
Wait. Can I also
The one
ask
he
you,
just did.
Monica, can I ask you?
Wait. Why are you asking me questions when you're not listening to my answers?
Hold on, guys. Monica, hold on one second. I want you guys to finish this conversation, but I just want to make an observation that it sounds like the standard conversation is that we're hypercritical of Democrats if we're Republicans when it comes to the management of the economy and vice versa. Like, why can't we just all agree that both parties really suck when it comes to spending and that we have a spending problem? Like, why can't we have that conversation?
Well, that's why I made my own
won't find
political
an
party.
argument for me.
Congratulations, we needed another political party.
Well.
Yes, it's just what we needed.
Oh, you beat me to it, Roger. Oh, man.
So Samoa
I don't know
has been...
which of you guys are bringing that guy up. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody brings that guy up. Times Square Shark is welcome in the room. He can stay in the goo. He can comment in the chat, but he's just a cancer on stages. So whoever brings him up again, if I find out who it is that's bringing him up, we're gonna have words.
Roger, I invite everybody on stage except for that guy.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Samoa, you went off mute a couple of times. Would you like to share your thoughts of the conversation?
Monica, who pays the tariff?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to fight with this guy Kevin here.
I'm just wondering.
Let me tag you in.
Can you help me? Can somebody tell me? Before I go to bed, can somebody just tell me who pays the tariff?
It's a choice.
The
consumer does.
Have the choice.
The consumer pays.
In a roundabout way, the consumer does, but like technically,
Hold on.
Actually,
The
fills out
consumer
the
pays
tariff
it.
sheet. Yes, indirectly, the consumer pays it. I agree, but I'm saying
that's
who fills out the tariff sheet?
Hold on, everyone.
Literally pays the import tax. Pays the import
Everyone
tax.
hold on. Anyone that's saying that the consumer doesn't pay it, I'd love to hear them explain how they don't pay it. And what we're gonna hear is a bunch of gish galloping from somebody that's never read an economic book.
I'm agreeing. I'm saying that I'm agreeing.
Kevin, get out the way.
Hold on, guys. Samoa is the one who said that the consumer does not pay for it. Go ahead, Sam.
Yes, I said that the importer pays for it, and it's their prerogative if they want to stay competitive within whatever commodity it is. We've seen Costco, we've seen Target, we've seen Walmart negotiating with China for them to eat it so that they are able to compete in America, and they did it during COVID. So my question would be this: if I can find one instance, is what you guys are saying wrong? Absolutely. It's wrong. It's up to the importer.
Jesus Christ. Did you find this guy at chillism?
Would you like to
Yeah, I brought him up so he can make a fool of himself, honestly.
Would you like the link where Walmart and Target and Costco...
Samoa, let me ask you this. Where did you
address my argument, though.
I'm going to ask you a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where did you get your degree in economics?
What do I need a degree for?
Well, I just wanted to validate that you don't have a degree in economics.
That kind of sounded like a gish gallop. Are you gonna address my argument or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna address it directly. Every single time in the history of the United States that tariffs have been raised, the cost of goods in the United States goes up. Now, if you can argue against that, please do. And by the way, I will put all of the references in the chat so everyone can review it.
All right, so this is my one example. I'm going to give you the example where the importers or the manufacturers of said products went ahead and ate the actual tariff to stay competitive as a policy during COVID last 2 years, China, Walmart, and Costco. I'll just provide that to you to show you that the importer does have the power to take a little bit off of its profit margin so that they're able to stay competitive in the market. Are you saying that's wrong?
I'm not going to totally disagree.
It's okay. I'm just asking. Are you saying that's wrong?
I'm going to add something to it. Wait, you're not explaining it correctly. However, I remember I started the conversation on that my car, when you asked me the question an hour ago, Roger, and I said, I just have been back and forth with the car dealer with a car from Germany. And they gave me a number back that's going to be the extra on my car, and they came back at 3%. Now, I know the tariff on Germany is going to be more than 3%. So some of what he's saying is that, let's say the car manufacturer, either on the manufacturer end or the dealerships in the US, someone's going to eat that difference to the consumer on that. But that's just, their decision on what they want to sell their product for. But ultimately, it's still going to increase probably the initial price of the car as they relist for, let's say, next year's list price is going to go up. So even if it looks like they're only adding a 3% on, they've increased the base. At least that's how I see it. Is that what you're saying, Samoa?
I'll chime in here.
Yeah.
Say that again. That's the line.
Oh, then you didn't hear anything.
What was your question?
I said, is that what you're saying? I just had this happen, and I'm asking if that's what you're trying to say. That the car dealer or the car manufacturer, it's either the car manufacturer in Germany or the dealers in the US, have made a decision to make a flat number as the increase that the consumer is going to have to pay. But the number they're telling me is not the number that Germany is paying on tariffs.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all.
Okay, what she means, Mo, is that the corporation eats the tariff. The corporation eats the tariff, but then they add it back onto their next year of their vehicles. So they increase the vehicles by 3%.
The base of the car is going to go up.
I think also Mo is getting at it's not so black and
white. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think Mo's saying it's not so black and white. Mojo's right. Normally, in theory, it falls on the consumer, but a lot of times, as we're seeing, is what Scott Beston said, the companies are choosing to eat this thing. So, in theory, yes, it goes to the consumer. That's normally the price go up. But what we're seeing now, which is weird, they're eating it. It's not really not effective.
It's not weird. The conditions that exist now has never existed.
Well, that's what I was saying, right. It's against the grain. Right.
There's never been one country in the entire world that represents 40% or more of all consumers.
Right.
40% global. Nobody ever had that leverage, ever. And so when someone says, oh, if you increase the tariffs, prices, look, all consumers pay for tariffs. If tariffs go up, for sure, we're paying for it. It doesn't mean prices go up. This is the caveat. So, that's why there's a fight between the administration and the Fed. Inflation has not happened. Everybody was screaming that inflation was going to happen. No, the Fed refuses to do anything to interest rates, right? Even though inflation inflation went down. So the tariffs happened and inflation went down. And so this completely broke the minds of every economist Because, on all of our universities, they teach us this, so I understand why Mojo has this position, right? Because they teach us this. And if taxes go up, prices go up. But it's not happening. It's just not happening because no country has ever had enough leverage to negotiate in a way where the supplier eats the tariff cost. And they're not even truly eating the cost, right? It's like once they do a deal, some of these guys have enough scale in America for the numbers to work out, so their revenue doesn't even go down.
Right, for lack of a better phrase.
I was talking about something specific as far as what happened towards the end of COVID, as far as what Walmart's request was of China, which they went ahead and accommodated it for a certain period of time, where the actual companies or the importers are eating it on the front end. And that's the point that I'm making. It doesn't translate always because it might
but
just
he's
price
saying
out of the
they're eating
market.
it on the front end, but they're adding it on the back end is what I mean.
No, that.
Hold on, everyone. Hold on.
You're telling me they're adding something next year and we're not next year.
Hold on. I know that this room is capable of being honest. Yes, importers could absolutely absorb if they want to. Very seldom will they absorb the entire thing. Almost always they pass at least some of the cost onto the consumers. And the idea that inflation hasn't gone up is just incorrect. It went from in June of 2024 it was 2.4%, and in June of 2025 it's 2.7%. It's gone up 0.3%. So I mean, if we're going to talk about facts, we should put the facts on the table. And again, in this case, and as in every case, the majority of the cost goes to the consumers. Even if you have importers that are, even if importers, if you have some importers that are willing to absorb that, the majority of it goes to the consumers. It's happening now, and as it's happened every single fucking time in U.S. history. So I get that there's people that want to support tariffs, probably because of the person that they support that's in the presidency. I would guess that Samoa probably supports Donald Trump. This is why he supports tariffs. And all I could say is that I have far more disdain for the right-wing anti-capitalists than I will ever have for the left-wing anti-capitalists. At least you fucking know where they were coming from. These fucking maggots, they don't understand how economics work. They don't understand how politics works. What they do is they take their fucking orders from their Lord and Savior Donald Trump, and then they try to build arguments to defend it. They're fucking mentally retarded.
Are you mad at me right now?
Peace be upon you.
I'm literally calling you a retard. That's what I'm calling.
Do you think I support tariffs?
Wait, you think tariffs are anti-capitalist?
Wait.
Tariffs are absolutely anti-capitalist.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, come on. Roger, do you think I am pro-tariff?
You're certainly defending them.
No, you fucking weirdo. I'm explaining them. That's not defending them, dumbass. I'm explaining it.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. How is someone like yourself that's never studied economics going to explain tariffs to me? You fucking retard.
You just walked it fucking back. I'm the retard. You just walked it back.
You are a retard, dummy. You're a complete
Donald Trump's plan.
My whole statement was the importer can eat.
Can everybody be quiet and let Samoa and Bojo go?
He don't want this, bro. This dude know what time it is. This dude got caught. You don't know what the fuck my politics are. You made an assumption.
Oh, really? You don't support Trump? You don't support Trump?
Shut the fuck up. Come on, man. Relax, man. Relax.
Okay. Listen, I'm not gonna let some fucking dime store fucking economist fucking tell me to shut the fuck up. Go back to chillism where you belong, where the 75 IQ is gonna fucking serve you well. You're a fucking...
Jimmy.
No idea how much I enjoyed that, Roger.
Jimmy, can you talk about
that's crazy. Wait, very quick. I had a question. Where you were describing inflation, and like I'm not a student of economics scholarly or academically. I look at economics and finance to the extent that it impacts my life. And Milton Friedman, actually even have it on my. Milton Friedman pointed out how inflation works and how it's Congress that does it. It's Congress and the presidency that somewhat impact. It comes from Washington D.C. But you were saying that the inflation went from what? You said it was from 2.4% to 2.7.
Year over year. That's what I said. Year over year. June of 2024, it was 2.4%, and in June of 2025, it's 2.7. Now, if you can't do the fucking math, that's an in.
Yeah, but you're leaving out the more than got the 3.6, I think.
And also, we're also not factoring in, I don't think that's directly tied to tariffs, right? I don't think. Go ahead, Jimmy.
It wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah. The inflation influx, or however it moved from that 0.3% has nothing to do with tariffs, especially because we're really not going to see the impact of tariffs on inflation for at least 1 to 2 years. We're not going to see it because even right now they've not been fully implemented. These tariffs have not been fully implemented. And at the end of the day, if we're gonna, like, in all honesty, being a pro-capitalist, I'm a pro-cap. I like to believe I'm a capitalist, and I want my country, yes, to impose particular tariffs on countries bringing their goods here, so that I can enjoy the fruits of the labor of the manufacturing sector here. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where the idea of these tariffs are coming from, right? It's to promote, it's to bring back America being the pioneers in technology, whether it be cars, refrigerators, televisions, all these other items that we import now. So if we're making it more expensive for other countries to bring them in, it means we're gonna have to do them, right? And and when you even bring in the idea of inflation, I think that's also gonna impact the standard of living, right? Because now we're gonna have to, implement, a higher, so to speak, a minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? The minimum wage question is now going to be brought back to the forefront. How can the minimum wage be this, especially when you're factoring in inflation, right? How is $7 in $7.25 as the federal minimum wage from the 1990s? How does that help any human being have an acceptable standard of living?
Lord, the proper minimum wage at the federal level should be zero.
I agree with that. I somewhat agree with that. I somewhat agree with that. But the thing is, for me, on my end with the minimum wage, there's a minimum wage, but there's no maximum wage.
Why do you want a maximum wage?
Fuck no, there should never be no. If you have a maximum wage, then you're not living in the capitalist.
Why do you want a minimum or a maximum wage?
No, a minimum wage is to ensure everybody has a level playing field. And you're also mitigating.
No.
Hold on. And hold on.
Well, you're wrong.
You're wrong. Mitigating.
No, don't just say things. Defend what you just said. Defend what you said.
I'm telling you. Yes, minimum wage.
Okay, hold on. Listen. I've listened to this long enough. Listen.
My apologies.
If you're going to say that minimum wage, first of all, minimum wage, the idea, you just used the word living wage. I don't know what the fuck that means. The problem here is we shouldn't be looking to artificially set wages. Wage controls are fucking a terrible idea, because when you raise these wages artificially, what you're going to do, what you're going to see, and I'm happy to post a study that will prove this, because a lot of you motherfuckers don't actually read, but I will post the link so you can do that. The bottom line is when you institute these, employers have a couple of options here. They can raise the cost of goods and services. That's usually not what they do, because they don't want to fuck off their consumers.
Exactly.
Hold on.
Wait for the punchline, Lord. Wait to hear what they do.
These fucking guys, they're all talk. No. The bottom line is, that's the worst option for them to go and pass a minimum wage hike onto their consumers. What they tend to do is they either let go of staff or they reduce the staff's hours that they work. They're going to reduce the labor cost, and what ends up happening is you thought you were helping the employees, end up making less money when you institute a raise in the minimum wage. And this is not for all people if you're lucky enough to maintain your 40-hour a week job. But the bottom line is, and we see this over and over every time they aggressively try to increase the minimum wage, is that employers then cut labor costs. This happens all the fucking time, and the people that are calling for a raise in minimum wage, they don't even look at the fucking results of these studies. I will post it in the fucking chat if you guys will read it. I doubt it, because the people that talk about lifting minimum wage, they're not exactly the reading type.
Right, that's why they're so my point, hold on. So Mike Allen, my point with the minimum wage thing, right, was for it to mirror the effects of inflation. Okay? $7.25 in 1992 is not $7, cannot do what $7 does today. Okay, so that's my point.
Okay, then Lord, explain to me how you're going to set wages in a central planned way without understanding, not having the knowledge of the cost of operating each business. How can you, well, hold on. If you're going to defend doing that, don't you ever call yourself a fucking capitalist.
Whoa, no. Listen, I'm speaking to the extent of, look at what happened in 2020 during the COVID bullshit that was happening, right? Where there was the, the paycheck protection plans, et cetera, and as much as there was not that much commerce, right? But there was so much money being brought. And I actually think a lot of the inflation we're seeing today is a reverberation of that. It's a reverberation of, all these stimuluses that we had during the COVID crisis, so to speak. That pandemic that we had, so to speak. So, and look, like I said, for me, I'm minimum wage, whatever. For me, what matters is that there's no maximum wage. Because when you have a maximum wage, now then that's where socialism does come in. That's where communism comes in. The minimum wage is intended to ensure that a society or a community is not living in goddamn fucking squalor.
Hold on, Lord, pause.
Go ahead.
Pause. Here's the fucking facts, and I'm gonna post it so you can read it, so you can quit saying dumb shit that don't make any fucking sense. Okay, I'm gonna post this so you can. I want you to read the link that I just posted above that talks about what actually happens when you raise the minimum wage.
Okay, so
go ahead. I want you to go read that. Listen, I can read it to you if reading is not your strong suit. It doesn't sound like it is. Listen, I want to illustrate something. All right, I'm fucking done with you. Listen, I don't know if it's the fucking, what the fuck's happening tonight? These fucking people, they just literally just say words. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I just got done explaining to this fucking retarded faggot that when he's talking about that the minimum wage is somehow going to help people, read these studies, he would understand that it actually lowers the income of the people that it was designed to help. Go fucking study this shit, you fucking
Right. I mean, on a basic level, it's... Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I want to push back on this the whole idea that tariffs are anti-free market. I think it's extremely problematic idea.
That's very serendipitous of you, Jimmy. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Roger said that the tariff agenda is anti-capitalist. I heard you say that's not true, and I was just curious your point on that.
Well, anybody that believes that gets stuck in the contradiction, because if you don't believe in open borders, which I presume Mojo doesn't believe in open borders, I'm presuming that, but I've heard Mojo sort of speak, on all kinds of subjects, and I think that he he would agree that it was completely outrageous under Biden that a bunch of illegals were able to storm into this country and essentially live as parasites on the American system, whether it's leveraging Medicaid, housing, getting hotels, and all of that. Well, I think Mojo would agree that that's absolutely disgusting. It would be equally as disgusting if a Chinaman is able to access the American markets as if it's their right to. No, it's a privilege to be able to access the American market. If you're a foreigner, it is an absolute privilege to be able to do business here, and you can make a lot of money here, but you must pay for the right to do so, because at the end of the day, when you make money, you're extracting the money and you're sending it back home. You're essentially a parasite, and so you must pay for the right to do that. You're a fucking foreigner. That's my position on this.
Yeah, so Jimmy, here's the problem, right? So here's how it's anti-capitalist, very simple. Free market capitalism is owning the means of production, making sure that the businesses are in control of the decisions that they make around prices and around wages. And when you have the government intervening in the economy, when they're putting their hand on the scale, you are by very definition destroying any semblance of having a capitalist system. You're now infusing the government into the market and letting them make the decisions that are going to impact the levers that impact prices. That is, like, you want to support tariffs, you're free to do that, but you can't support tariffs and call yourself a free market capitalist. It's just an oxymoron.
Yes, you can, because most of what is being brought from abroad was made here. It used to be made here, no problem. Everybody could afford everything. Wages were high. You didn't need a college degree. You can graduate from high school, buy a house, have 3 kids, a wife, buy multiple vehicles. All of this happened already. I don't know why we buy into this idea that, it has to come from India, it has to come from China, or it's not capitalism. That is the furthest from the truth.
So, Jimmy,
I don't know where you're getting this from, Mojo.
So, Jimmy, within a free market, you can import these goods from wherever you like. Instead of having the government put their hand on the scale, if we think that China is taking advantage of this market and we think that we can get a better deal working with manufacturers in other places, why don't we just import from other places? We don't need the government to do that. By the way, we can import from wherever we'd like, right? The other thing that we could do is we could, as consumers, we could revolt. I would much rather have a boycott at the consumer level of Chinese goods and services than to have the government put their hand on the scale. First of all, it would be far more impactful, because if we did that, they would have to get to the bottom of, like, why are they not buying Chinese shit? And then China would have to ask themselves the question, what would it take to buy their shit? Because we are the biggest consumer economy, and I agree that China wants to sell here. They want to be able to exploit this market. I just think that there's better levers to pull to control this. I think educating people on when you buy Chinese shit, if you square that with your thoughts around human rights, when you square that on your thoughts of where that money might go to and the regime that might be building a war machine that you're going to have to fight at some point, which I would take the under on. I don't think they'll ever want this fucking smoke. The fucking ships they have are not built for for deep water, and I don't think they ever will be. But at the end of the day, there are just better mechanisms for us to be able to deal with not buying Chinese cheap shit. I don't think, like, this is the difference between a capitalist and a statist, is you guys are always looking for a way to have the government solve these problems. I'm looking for the market to solve the problem, and you can have the importers and the buyers solve this problem far more effectively than Donald Trump.
I would just like to say I'm a free market capitalist. I disagree with the tariffs. I think that the corporations should take care of it. But if I should have prefaced by saying that if they actually worked it the way these people think they work, then I might be a little more inclined to agree with them. But they don't. It gets passed on to the consumer, and that's all.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the government putting their finger on the scales is why all the factories were offshored in the first place. The government is the entity that created all the incentives to offshore factories. Like, it wasn't the free market that did that. I really need to point this out, that when everything was left normal, all manufacturing was done here. This is very important to point out, because I feel like we're going through a process of gaslighting now. That, oh, this is being done because the government is overreaching, where no, the government is simply reverting to back how it used to behave for a very, very long time before all of this Chinese and Indian goods started flooding into our market.
I'm not in support of government intervention, putting their hand on the scale in either direction. My preference would be to look back at American history, look back at when did we expand the economy to the greatest extent. There's a 30-year period that you can go study. Again, for those that like to read, you could go read about it. 1870 to 1900. The biggest expansion in human fucking history, and the thing that allowed that to take place was deregulation. When the government gets out of the way, it's amazing with the free market.
You know, there were tariffs then. There were tariffs then.
Look, but the thing is this: at the end of the day, if you want to access America's market, you pay. It's super, like, that's not anti-free market. There is demand all around the world to access the most active consumer in the world. Companies all
If you have to pay, how is that a free?
Listen, that's literally, look, okay, I repeat, there is the demand. Like, so imagine a mall, right? A mall where a lot of customers shop. There is a demand as a business owner to lease space in that mall. It's going to be more expensive because it's a...
Yo, Jimmy, real fast, I just had a question for Roger. Did you bring Florida up, Roger, or no? I didn't bring him up. I didn't move him to the audience.
He could get up here if he fucking misbehaves. We'll take.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if you want him or not.
So yeah, this mall has a lot of foot traffic. You can make a lot of money. A lot of companies are willing to pay to access those customers. That's what this is. If you're going to ship your goods over here, pay to access our consumers. That is a free market activity. For people to believe otherwise is crazy talk to me, because this is how every single country on this planet behaves. It's a part of the free market. And so the free market in companies, not just you and us as individuals, but companies and governments. Governments are also a part of the free market. Governments are also buyers and sellers. Both governments are consumers. So them charging companies to access their citizens is a free market activity. And thinking that it's otherwise is sort of weird.
Wait, so definitionally it's not a free market if you're doing that. And just because all the governments do it doesn't then mean, oh, well, this must be the free market. That was the point that Roger was trying.
Okay, I repeat, a government is a participant in the free market. They are also buyers and sellers.
They're not supposed to be.
What do you mean they're not supposed to be? Of course they are. We sell weapons to the world, the government.
The government doesn't make the weapons. The private.
They sell weapons to the world.
Yeah, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, they can't sell. They can't sell them.
Hold on. No.
Raytheon cannot sell.
Jesus Christ, Jimmy, listen. It's quite obvious you don't know how money moves.
Oh my God. Okay.
Well, it's quite obvious that you don't understand how money moves.
I have no idea. Sure.
Well, it's very clear. You're illustrating it. You said that the government makes weapons. They don't. Private companies do. Now, if you talk about how foreign funding works, like, for example, our friends in Israel, what we do is the government will give them a voucher, and then they spend those vouchers with the contractors. So the government is still putting their hand on the scale, which I don't like. I don't like them putting their hand on the scale, period, end of story. You seem to be comfortable with it because you're not really a capitalist, and that's fine. You don't have to be a capitalist. Just don't parade to be one.
The point is, you were incorrect when you said that the government sells weapons. They do not. What they do is they do a wealth transfer of taking taxpayers' dollars to create a voucher that goes to a foreign entity, and those foreign countries then cash in that voucher with the American companies. Look, the fact that I have to explain this stuff to you is crazy to me. I know that you're smarter than the average person on Clubhouse, but what's very interesting is that you don't know the very basics of how money
It's not
moves.
gaslighting, it's steel manning. You just steel man.
He does it to a lot of people.
Oh my god.
Well, dude, I wouldn't have even had to say that if you would have explained that you knew how money moves.
The United States government sells weapons.
No, they don't.
Around the world.
No, they don't.
To that.
No, they don't. No, you're incorrect. You're factually incorrect. You're proving again that you don't know how money moves. What the federal government will do is they will take taxpayer dollars, they will allocate a voucher to a foreign government, and then that foreign government will then purchase weapons from those private companies. If you don't know that, you can go read about it. You can go educate yourself, or you can come to the School of Clubhouse and you can learn Professor Mojo.
Jimmy, what is the duty and obligation of the federal government?
Anybody there with a phone or ChatGPT?
Yeah, Jimmy, what is the duty and the obligation of the federal government? What are they supposed to do?
You guys won't let me speak, right? So if you won't take it from me, I'll just read it off. Yes, the United States government does sell weapons. It's through the Foreign Military Sales and Direct Commercial Sales Act, right? Foreign military sales. In the process, the U.S. government manages the sale of weapons, equipment, and services to foreign governments. The U.S. State Department and Department of Defense, through the Defense Security Cooperation Agency, are involved in reviewing and approving these sales. Gaslight.
Have them break that down. Why don't you break that down what that actually says?
Hold on. I can read ChatGPT too. The U.S. government does not. Hold on. Everyone mute up. The U.S. government does not manufacture weapons or sell weapons directly to anyone. I'm reading right from ChatGPT. This is the source that you like. It says weapon manufacturing, private defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics design and manufacture the vast majority of U.S. military weapons and equipment. When sold to foreign entities, typically the government will issue a voucher in which the foreign entity will then go to these defense contractors and pay for it using U.S. taxpayer vouchers. Now,
same as a
taxpayer. I agree. If you have a phone at home, and you want to go on ChatGPT and you want to fact check all this stuff, you can go look this stuff up. Jimmy, I don't know why you it's like you're insisting on own goaling yourself. You could just admit that this is something that you don't understand, and then you can just do what most people do, which is listen to the things that they don't understand so they can learn. This is a good time for.
All right, so I already put a link in the chat to the State Department website, which explains exactly the U.S. government's activity in sales. But let's just pretend that Mojo is correct, so we can move on.
Well, hold on. Let me ask this to Abby. Abby, when the U.S. government sells weapons to Israel, right? Because Jimmy says that the U.S. government sells them to them. Let me describe my understanding of it, and I know that you have a lot of expertise in this area. My understanding is that the U.S. gives a voucher to Israel, and Israel then uses those vouchers to purchase weapons from companies like Raytheon and others. Is that, or is that not how?
I think that's how it works. I mean, I know with the Iron Dome, that was a joint venture, Raytheon. I put this in the chat, in Raphael Industries. It's produced by Raytheon. The most of the purchases, whether it's if we talk about the airplanes and who's producing the airplanes, the U.S. government isn't making the plane. Plane is being manufactured by airplane manufacturing companies.
By private contractors and
they're all private contractors. Same things with the
that's how you know you get on Sound Go of, you petition. Watch the movie. What was it? War Dogs. If you watch the movie War Dogs, about how they were trying to get it, it's quite accurate.
Jesus Christ, no, listen, you're not going to dumb down this conversation by talking about Jonah Hill.
No, we're taking it to the Constitution.
Okay, you're going back down. What if, is that guy from Chillism?
No,
What the fuck
he's
is happening?
not that I know of. He might be new with it.
Roger, is chillism just like a slur?
Yes.
Like, I've been hearing about this the last couple days.
Chillism is a place where I visited the other day, and these two guys argued for 45 minutes about Hegel. They were arguing about who had the better understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. And after 45 minutes of arguing, it was very clear that neither of them had read Hegel. So I went on a stage, I started asking them a few questions, got them to both admit that neither of them had read Hegel. That was Concrete and Ike. So if you ever run into those guys, if you think the people in this room are stupid, you should go to Chillism because, by the way, if you tired of getting shit on by somebody that understands more than you, you can go to Chillism and you'll be the smartest person in the room.
So you think if I went over there and started talking about Hegel,
Bubby, you've been there before. You just didn't realize it's Nathan Arts and Knowledge.
I'm in white belts in Chillism.
I have to tell you, it is the collection of the fucking misfits of Clubhouse. It is
You're gonna say misfits.
It's the stupidest people that this app has ever fucking onboarded. And then there's a mixture of people. No, Monica, hold on. Then there's a mixture of people that like to go and it's like going to the zoo, right? That's how I think of it. So sometimes Monica likes to go to the zoo and she likes to go and see the giraffes and the zebras and the monkeys and whatnot. But you're not going there for a conversation. I mean, maybe you do talk to the monkeys at the monkey exhibit, but that's about what it's like. Like when I go in there, it's a destination. I'm gonna decompress and just kind of watch
it's like
wild.
a theme park for you.
Roger, that is the way Monica thinks about it because it's mostly black people. She just likes to go in and tell them how great white people are. Bubby's laughing because
Was that a female laughing like that? Was that a girl laughing like that?
I don't know. Do I hear a geriatric bitch yelling at me? I don't know.
Oh, it's Bubby.
Yeah, suck my dick, bitch. Fuck you, cunt.
Oh, really? Seems like we have equal power here. You sure you want to call me a cunt?
Yeah. Don't want to be as Monica. It's not cool.
So, Monica, you've sounded very defensive of Chillism. Let me ask you this. Average IQ of that room, what do you think it is?
I don't know. I have friends there, so when you say them that, and by the way, I moved Bubby down.
I know you did.
I brought him up.
You guys stop moving people. Fuck.
He called me a cunt, Roger.
Okay, hey, hold on.
And told me to suck his penis.
Monica, stop.
Okay, hold on.
Suck it from the back while you're at it.
Nope. Alright, now I'm moving. Yeah, you fucking dickhead. Listen, don't do that. Fucking Monica is a fucking all-star in this app. We love Monica. Don't treat Monica that way. It's fucking crazy. No, so Monica, what do you think the average IQ is on that app?
Well, I mean, Tally's there. And
I like Tally, but Tally's not enough in a room of 10 people to raise the IQ level too high.
Okay, so we're talking about a group IQ.
Let me ask it a different way, so you'll feel less defensive of it.
Okay.
When you walk into that room, typically, don't you believe that you are the highest IQ person?
No, actually, I don't.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wait, hold on. I take
Huey's in there.
Well, come on. Just because you speak posh doesn't mean you're smart. I do think Io's a tough.
Io, yeah.
Io's probably one of the. Io brings it up. So I was gonna say it's a
Mike
75.
is strong too. Incredible. The Hulk, Mike.
You mean Psych? No, that guy's a fucking retard. No.
Well, don't count him out.
No, I did. I just did. He's a fucking retard. No, listen, I'm telling you, I'm looking across this stage right now. Hikima's a flat earther, and I would say that Hikima is at least 10 points higher than the average person that spends their time in chillism.
Well, I mean, that's what you can think. I don't think so. There's some really cool people there. But then again,
there's good people on both sides.
Yeah. And Roger, you know, I think sometimes our society, we focus on smarts, and I don't know if intelligence makes a great person. In fact,
I'm not making that argument. Why are you? Listen.
Well, it does hurt my feelings to hear my friends being called dumb.
Well, all right. What about? Can you agree on this? Concrete, lowest IQ on the entire.
I want to say yes so bad, but that wouldn't be honest. I can tell you.
The only the person running.
Loki, have you met Loki?
Look, I've seen a lot of these people. They're all fucking retarded. Nathan's a fucking retard. They're all fucking retarded.
And you know, if I have to pick between a nice retarded person and rich, guess which one I'm picking?
Okay, so you don't like Rich, but I would guarantee this. Rich, who doesn't shut the fuck up about it, has an IQ of 141.
It just proves
well,
my
I don't
point.
know. Oh, hold on. But I would bet that, with the exception of Io, Rich has a higher IQ than anybody that's ever stepped foot in that room.
We've actually went through this. IO and I are the highest IQ people.
No, you're not in there anymore.
There, don't you think it's a bit of a stretch to say that Concrete's the dumbest when we went through Sarah for I don't know how long?
Oh, well, hold on. Sarah, it's not about Sarah being the dumbest, but Sarah is, she's full of shit. She's bigoted. She's got the most annoying voice.
What about the guy that you said was the fake Stanford graduate?
Kubu, you know what he is? He's just dishonest. I don't think he's as dumb as he is dishonest. I think he just likes to lie about.
Wait, there's a guy on here named Kubu?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dude, Kubu's, I don't know if he took it from, but it's from a space opera called Galaxy Outlaws. It's actually a dog in the character. I would say the highest IQ individual that I've ever met on this app would be Ethan Muse. I don't know if you're familiar with him from
Ethan's
Andrew,
great.
the religious room.
Highest IQ individual I remember meeting. You know who I'm going to say, Mojo, Austin. Like, there's nobody that I've met that breaks shit down better, has better understandings or grasp of things in multiple, like, I don't even know how to fucking explain it. Kid's just fucking insane.
Have you been in the rooms whenever?
Yeah, he used to come to Healthy Debate. Healthy Debates is where he spent most of his time,
Very
actually.
bright guy.
Hey, Bubby, are you familiar with Ethan Muse from Andrew R's room?
Yeah.
No? Yeah, he's...
Yeah,
I would put him in the 180 range.
He's real good.
And you know what's the coolest thing about Ethan is he doesn't.
This isn't the opportunity to say who we like. This is a time to shit on the people that we think are stupid.
I'm not good at
Like-
that.
Beaver's probably one of the dumbest people on here.
Who?
Beaver.
He is not.
Well, hold on. No, Beaver is dumb. But what Beaver did do is he accurately predicted the election, exact pick on the electoral count. So
I was only saying that because he's down in the audience.
He's
If he
very
wasn't,
bright.
he was in it.
He's very bright, and he's a
I know, I'm
better
joking.
sports better than anyone on here.
See, I can't say too much on people.
Wait, hold on. Let me just say this. Intelligent people don't bet on sports. There are much wiser ways to spend your fucking money. The high IQ people would never place a.
Well, Roger, did you ever see they had a convention? It was supposed to be in like Maryland for a bunch of like world-renowned physicists, and they got it moved to Las Vegas due to like a hurricane or something. And they went to hurricane, and then they went to Vegas, and then the next day they put out a article in the news on the front page, and it says, "Physicists, please never come back because they didn't spend any fucking money."
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I'd have a difficulty on with like throwing the shots at the ones I think are dumb is that a lot of them I don't think they're actually that dumb.
I just think that they're either grifting, or I think that they've genuinely duped themselves into believing what they're saying.
Like high on their own supply.
If you had to say the IQ of Dr. Copeland.
That was the COVID dude, right?
Yeah, the COVID guy, the guy that would talk about COVID, but he's a chiropractor.
He told me once that a human fetus wasn't a human, and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in too many of the COVID rooms during that time. I think that's the only matter of fact. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was the only time I actually found Norm to be decent enough to be in a room with. That was crazy.
Well, listen, if you don't like Norm, that says more about you than it does.
Norm's
No, that's fine.
incredibly
No, that's
bright.
fair. That's fair.
He's
That's fair. Let us
incredibly
say what it
bright.
wants about me, but still, fucking hell.
You know what? He's incredibly bright and incredibly well-read and well-educated.
And he's a two-time.
I didn't say that he wasn't. I just said I don't fucking like the dude. That's all.
You don't have to like him, but we're talking about smart versus dumb. And he's an incredibly intelligent and well-educated person. One of the problems is also, like, some of the people that, what did we just have someone who said they were political scientists but didn't understand politics? You know, there's people you could tell they had formal education, or you could tell that they just really know a subject. Norm has both. He's formally educated, but he's in the weeds on subjects. Like, he's very bright.
Yeah, I think if Norm could learn to do two things, not eat while he's on Clubhouse and not speak out of turn. If he were to do those two things, he would be the perfect human.
he would be more welcome, for sure.
Do you guys know that I literally voted for him? I had my kid vote for him, I had my mom vote for him. Yeah, I voted for him.
Does it show up on the register, the voters? Like he got 3?
It doesn't officially count because he wasn't somebody that qualified. He didn't pay his filing fee and all that kind of jazz. But and by the way, I put in El Normo. I didn't put his Christian name. I didn't call it a Christian name if I'm referring to a Jew. But yeah.
I've heard you say that, but I never really took it seriously. That's kind of funny.
No, I legit voted for Norm. And by the way, he's my leading candidate going into 2020.
Jesus Christ, what a shit show.
He can kind of parlay on almost any subject, and he knows it.
Well,
I mean, that's the other thing.
You know what's cool about him too is that's the thing, Abby, is I have more fun talking to Norm about pop culture than I do talking about politics. You know, music, movies, shit like that. He's very well, he's so knowledgeable on so many subjects. It's pretty impressive.
Speaking of pop culture, not to derail, but I saw Superman and Fantastic Four, and I loved them. It was so nice not to be preached at, and I thought they were really well done.
Superman movie was preaching. Oh, maybe you didn't realize that Superman is like a pussy, and he can't actually like defend himself, and he has to like rely on everyone.
Pro-natalist. It was pro-baby.
Do you have the story behind Superman at all?
Yes.
What did you think of the new Superman?
Thought they chose well. I had no problem with the acting and the actors in either of the movies.
Who do you think should be the next James Bond?
Male. Have high standards for James Bond.
Well, hold on. You guys got to get this straight, right? If they want to make a spy thriller in that universe, they can. They've talked about women. They've talked about black men. You could do that, and you could even call them 007 if you want, because that's a title. But James Bond is a white British male. Period. End of story. If you start fucking with that formula, you're not doing the right thing. I mean, but honestly, if they made a movie, like when they were talking about Idris Elba, if they would have called him James Bond, I would have had a major problem with it. But if they would have called him Agent 007, I would have been fine. You just have to name him something different. It's all about the way that you frame that. And I again, I'm okay. Probably be lame, but if they wanted to make a movie with a woman as 007, you could do that too. You just can't have James Bond be something other than the tradition.
I mean, if you were to say who I would cast for the next 007, if you're going non-British, I don't think Gabriel Macht would be like a bad choice. The dude who plays Harvey on Suits, Harvey Specter, I don't think he'd be a bad choice for him. And I think that maybe if you want to go with the other option, the European option, go with like Cillian Murphy or something.
No. Yeah. So great.
Murphy could do it. He pulled off Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, here's some. If you wanted to make a 007 film, and 007 is going to, you could create all kinds of new characteristics. They don't even have to drink, drinks that are shaken, not stirred. You could have you could have an Agent 007 that doesn't drink at all. You could switch that up, but you can't have a James Bond that doesn't drink. This is the rules that they should abide by. They won't do it because they don't fucking care. If they think they can make some money, they'll mix it up and do something. I will say, when Spider-Man became a Hispanic, that was a problem for me. And it's not that I don't like Hispanics. I eat Mexican food probably every other day. But no, Spider-Man is fucking Peter Parker, and that's not negotiable.
There is multiverse of different Spider-Mans.
Yeah, I don't like this multiverse crap either.
Oh,
this
really?
is like so then nothing fucking matters.
Well, that was the original thing with Endgame.
Go. Yeah, exactly. Go look at Rippaverse. It's a whole new. It's a whole new comic book series. Like Esom is the first one that they released. The entire Rippaverse is to cover the fact that comic book writing has gotten out of hand where death doesn't mean anything. There's nothing of consequence, because then you can go, oh, well, that happened in that universe over there.